We turn now to a war being fought right along our borders, and that is the war on drugs. Mexico's Attorney General is now saying that 25,000 people have gone missing in the last 6 years. This amid chaos and violence that has ensued in Mexico as it struggles to fight drug cartels. Some say that it's U.S. policies that fuel the war on drugs, emboldening the drug mafias that profit off the illegal drug market. Beyond policies, Mexico's cartels are armed with massive arsenals. Take a look at some of the tools of their trade. As you can see, they have plenty of AK-47 rifles, machine guns, and shotguns, just to name a few. Also, rocket-propelled grenade launchers you see here are some of the heaviest weapons the cartel uses. And they even have their own monster trucks. Mexico has seized more than 100 of them. So where do the cartels get their weapons? Well, some are from Central America, but most of them come from the United States. In fact, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms found that 68,000 of 99,000 guns found in Mexico actually originated in the United States. For more on where and how drug gangs are arming themselves, I'm joined by Adrienne Pine, assistant professor at American University. Adrienne, great to have you here.
Thanks, Liz.
So first, I want to talk about where these guns are coming from. As we just mentioned, many of them come from the U.S. Could you elaborate a bit more on how these cartels are getting armed?
Well, that's right, Liz. 70% of the guns and weapons that have been captured by Mexican police have been found to come from the United States. And a lot of those are coming through originally coming through a legitimate, quote unquote, legitimate forms of trade. That is, people can walk into gun shows in Arizona or New Mexico and very easily buy these weapons. So one thing that tells us is that the drug war is an incredibly profitable enterprise for industries like the gun trade. And of course, it's profitable also for banks in the United States that are laundering the money from drug cartels like HSBC that was exposed as having done that. It's also beneficial to the DEA, to private prisons, and to the military itself, which need the drug war as justification for their very existence to some extent. So we can see who's benefiting from it. On the other side, Mexico is not benefiting from it, nor has drug consumption gone down in the United States.
Right. And all this, we had just showed those pictures there of some of the weapons that the drug cartel has. And over the years, we have seen them grow and continue to get more sophisticated. And their weapons, as we saw, are getting more sophisticated. Are they only going to get more advanced?
Well, I think that a lot depends on the kind of policy that that the U.S. Has vis-a-vis Mexico and, of course, Central America, other Latin American countries, because this drug war is not just in Mexico. And so policy, or rather the actions of the cartels in large part are responsive to U.S. military policy as well as, of course, economic policy. So the U.S. has been pouring $500 million a year into the drug war in Mexico alone, and many more millions throughout the rest of Latin America. This has helped to increase the militarization of Latin American countries, and in response, the militarization, of course, of cartels. And so, we're just kind of having this war increasing on both sides. But also our economic policy has promoted neoliberalization, privatization, the usurpation of collectively held lands in Mexico, and taken away economic opportunities, which has created a situation in which drug trade is one of the only economic opportunities for many people in northern Mexico. And so we are, in a sense, creating the conditions for the escalation of this drug war on both sides.
And you're saying there the U.S. pouring all this money into financing this war on drugs. Meanwhile, I mean, these numbers just came out pretty grim. 25,000 adults and children have gone missing. 7,000 bodies remain unidentified in morgues. Why isn't there more being done to help these families who are still looking for loved ones? And I mean, is this an example of how this drug war has not been productive.
This drug war absolutely has not been productive on the human rights front. And in addition to that number of 25,000, which many feel is quite low, there's the official estimate of 60,000 killed. And some researchers like Molly Malloy, the University of New Mexico, estimate that it's actually more than double that, so 120,000 plus people killed over recent years in this drug war, over the past 6 years in this drug war. Additionally, we've seen a vast increase in the previous presidency in Mexico of human rights abuses carried out by the police and the military, which in many cases are trained by the United States as part of the drug war. So certainly, all of these things, the disappearances, the killings, and also the human rights abuses carried out directly by the state are linked together economically and also in terms of U.S. military policy.
And you had mentioned earlier the ease that these cartels are able to get these weapons, and a lot of them, it starts off legally. And, you know, there is this big debate over gun control in the U.S. Could this be an example about how lax gun laws could be leading to the ease of the cartels being able to, you know, easily obtain these weapons in the U.S.?
That's exactly what it is. I mean, it's the United States lack of gun control that is greatly facilitating the slaughter of Mexicans, as well as, of course, people here in the United States. I mean, we have one of the loosest gun control policies in the world, and the result of this are these tens and hundreds of thousands of killings.
And, you know, aside from the debate of whether or not people should have guns, I mean, it's our Second Amendment right to have guns, but how do you make it, what needs to be done to make sure that those guns do not end up in the hands of these drug cartels that are slaughtering people?
Well, I think, first of all, you know, we need to tie our gun policy, we need to be thinking structurally. So we need to be thinking about why is it that it's attractive for these cartels to buy guns in the first place. And for that, we need to rescind our neoliberal economic policies, NAFTA, that are making it impossible for people to go into other trades. We need to stop selling bullets. And, you know, and I do think that we need to very deeply interrogate our relationship with guns in this country, despite the obsession with Second Amendment, because guns kill. It's you know, it's not just that criminals kill people. People with guns end up killing people. And in Mexico, because of the ease in the United States has become the primary market for getting guns. So that is a much bigger discussion that needs to happen, but happen alongside questioning of why it is that people need these guns in the first place. And that's because we have impoverished Mexico with our trade policies.
A lot of this bloodshed happened under Mexican President Calderon, and we are seeing this transition of leadership. Do you see any promise under Mexico's new leadership?
Well, the new president, Peña Nieto, has promised that he will bring in peace to Mexico, but he hasn't really said how he will do that. And he's, you know, the leadership, he's the new leadership of the PRI-government, which was in power for over 70 years prior to the PAN's leadership. And he's really the protege of Salinas de Gortari, who is the person who, along with Clinton, signed NAFTA and brought the impoverishment to Mexico and the usurpation of collectively held lands that I mentioned earlier, that has created the conditions for the drug trade to thrive as it has. What we may see with the return to PRI-government is the return to PRI-policy of actually collaborating with drug cartels much more closely than the PAN government did. But above and beyond that, what we've seen already is that with the installation of the new Peña Nieto government, we've seen repression of protesters, we've seen tear gas, bullets, rubber bullets fired into crowds. It's not a very hopeful scenario in terms of human rights and peace.
Really interesting. Adrienne, appreciate you coming on the show. That was Adrienne Pine, assistant professor at American University.
Thank you.